Lesson 3: Types of disasters. Disasters occur in various forms, such as floods, droughts, landslides, earthquakes, conflicts, famine, industrial and transport accidents, and some other such occurrences. Disasters are usually divided into natural or human-made and man-made. However, a specific disaster generates another disaster. For this reason, disasters are classified as primary disasters and secondary disasters. The initial disaster is called primary disaster and subsequent disaster is called secondary disaster. That increases the impact. Such occurrences are called complex disasters. A classic example is an earthquake that causes a tsunami resulting in coastal flooding. In this example, the earthquake is referred as primary disaster and tsunami is referred as secondary disaster. In the previous lesson, you have learnt about various concepts related with disaster and disaster management. In this lesson, you would learn the types of disasters. Objective of this lesson: on completion of this lesson, you would be able to classify the varieties of disasters. Natural disaster. A natural disaster is a major adverse event resulting from natural processes of earth. Severe storms and floods are the most common types of natural disasters. Other examples of natural disasters are floods, hurricanes, tornadoes, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, tsunamis, and such other occurrences. Natural disaster is naturally occurring physical phenomena which can be geophysical, earthquakes and landslides, tsunami and volcanic activity, hydrological, avalanches and floods, climatological, extreme temperature, drought and wildfires, or meteorological, cyclones and storms, wave surges. Natural disasters cause loss of life, injury or other health impacts, property damage, loss of livelihoods and services, social and economic disruptions or environmental damage. The rapid growth of the world's population and its increased concentration often in hazardous environments has escalated both the frequency and severity of disasters. Natural disasters kill thousands of people and destroy habitat and property every year. With the humid climate and unstable landforms coupled with deforestation, unplanned growth, proliferation, unplanned constructions which make the disaster-prone areas more vulnerable. Slow communication and poor or no budgetary allocation for disaster prevention, developing countries suffer more or less chronically from natural disasters. An adverse event will not rise to the level of a disaster if it occurs in an area without vulnerable populations. In the year 2015, Nepal, a vulnerable area, had disastrous consequences and left long-lasting damage, requiring years to repair. Earthquakes. An earthquake is the result of a natural process of sudden release of energy in the Earth's crust that creates seismic waves. At the Earth's surface, earthquakes manifest themselves by vibration, shaking, and sometimes displacement of the ground. Earthquakes are caused by slippage within geological faults. The underground points of origin of the earthquake is called the seismic focus. The point directly above the focus on the surface is called the epicenter. Earthquakes by themselves rarely kill people or wildlife. It is usually the secondary events that they trigger such as building collapse, fires, tsunamis, seismic sea waves, and volcanoes, which are actually the human disasters. Many of these could possibly be avoided by better construction, safety system, early warning, and planning. Tsunami. A tsunami, also known as seismic sea wave or as a tidal wave, is a series of waves in a water body caused by the displacement of a large volume of water, generally in an ocean or a large lake. Tsunami can be caused by undersea earthquakes, such as the 2004 tsunami, or by landslide or by volcanic eruptions. Cyclonic storms, tropical cyclone, hurricane, and typhoon are different names for the same phenomenon, which is a cyclonic storm system that forms over the oceans. The determining factor on which term is used is based on where they originate. In the Atlantic and Northeast Pacific, the term hurricane is used. In the Northwest Pacific, it is referred to as typhoon, and cyclones occur in the South Pacific and Indian Ocean. The deadliest hurricane ever was the 1970 Bhola cyclone. The deadliest Atlantic hurricane was the Great Hurricane of 1780, which devastated Martinique, Saint Eustatius, and Barbados. Another notable hurricane is Hurricane Katrina, which devastated the Gulf Coast of the United States in 2005. Droughts. Drought is the unusual dryness of soil, resulting in crop failure and shortage of water and for other usage, which is caused by significant low rainfall than average over a prolonged period. Hot, dry winds, shortage of water, high temperatures, and consequent evaporation of moisture from the ground can contribute to conditions of drought. Well-known historical drought includes the 1997-2009 millennium drought in Australia led to a water supply crisis across the country. Heat waves. A heat wave is a period of unusually and excessively hot weather. The worst heat wave in recent history was the European heat waves of 2003. The 2010 Northern Hemisphere summer resulted in severe heat waves which killed over 2,000 people. It resulted in hundreds of wildfires, which causing widespread air pollution and burned thousands of square miles of forest. Tornadoes. A tornado is a violent, dangerous, rotating column of air that is in contact with both the surface of the earth and, in rare cases, the base of a cumulus cloud. It is also referred to as a twister or a cyclone, although the word cyclone is used in meteorological in wider sense. It referred to any cloud, low presence, circulation. Tornadoes come in many shapes and sizes, but are typically in the form of a visible condensation funnel, which is narrow and it touches the earth and is often encircled by a cloud of debris and dust. Most tornadoes have wind speed less than 110 miles per hour, or approximately 250 feet across, and travel a few miles, several kilometers, before disappearing. The most extreme tornadoes can attain wind speed of more than 300 miles per hour, stretch more than 2 miles across, and stay on the ground, and dozens of miles, perhaps more than 100 kilometers. Wildfires. Wildfires are large fires which often start in wild land areas. Common causes including lighting and drought, but wildfires may also be started by human negligence or arson. They can spread to populated areas and can be a threat to humans and property, as well as wildlife. Notable cases of wildfires were 1871 Pestillo fire in the United States, which killed at least 1,700 people, and 2009 Victorian bushfires in Australia. Man-made disasters. A man-made disaster is a disastrous event caused directly by one or more identifiable, deliberate, or negligent human actions. Man-made disasters are usually the result of things going wrong in our complex technological society. They include blackouts, hazardous material spills, air pollutions, house fires, radiation leaks, food or water contamination, and industrial chemical releases. Examples of man-made disasters which result from human negligence, error, or intent include nuclear warfare, biochemical warfare, nuclear explosions, toxic emissions, global warmings, fires, civil unrest, and terrorism. Man-made disasters can be catastrophic, causing extensive damage to the environment and resulting in human loss and devastations. Some of the most devastating man-made disasters in history include the bombing of the Chinese capital of Chongqing during World War II, which left over 2,500 people dead. In Bhopal, India, gas tragedy of 1984, more than 5 lakhs people were exposed to methyl isonate gas and other chemicals, causing 3,787 deaths and 5,58,000 temporary and partial injuries. Airstrike at the World Trade Center in New York on 11th September 2001 is a typical example of man-made disaster in recent times. In the aftermath of the tragic loss of life that occurred on September 11, 2001, the feelings of loss of security and well-being, arguably the most crucial ingredients for the leading a happy, healthy life, dramatically affected the citizens of the United States. Man-made disasters also include chemical spills and groundwater contamination. Workplace fires are more common and can cause significant property damage and loss of life. Communities are also vulnerable to threats posed by extreme groups who use violence against both people and property. High-risk targets include military and civilian government facilities, international airports, large cities, and high-profile landmarks. Cyber terrorism involves attacks against computers and networks done to intimidate or cause a government or its people for political or social objects. Man-made or human-instigated disasters are the result of human failure to set up appropriate disaster management measures. Some examples of man-made disasters are fires, transport accidents, industrial accidents, and nuclear explosions or radiations, war, deliberate attacks, and terrorist attacks are also put in this category. Man-made disasters are examples of specific cases where man-made disaster has become really in an event. As with natural disasters, these types of traumatic events may also cause loss of life and property. They may also prompt evacuation from certain areas and overwhelm behavioral health resources in the affected communities. The studies on disaster reflect a common opinion that all disasters can be seen as being man-made. Their reasoning being that Human actions before the strike of the hazard can prevent it developing into a disaster. All disasters are hence the result of human failure to introduce appropriate disaster management measures. Man made disasters are usually the result of things going wrong in our complex industrial society. They include hazardous material, chemical spills, air pollution, house fires, industrial fires, radiation leaks, food or water contamination, industrial waste releases. In the best case, they rob us of our modern luxuries for a brief time. In the worst case, they impact the entire ecosystem in which we live. A profound example of man-made disaster is Chernobyl nuclear power plant accident that, according to the World Health Organization, exposed 6 million people to dangerous level of radiation and left a portion of our planet nearly uninhabitable. Mankind has frequently created catastrophes that devastate the environment and taken lives. However, excluding the loss of life resulting from war, terrorism, or transportation disasters, there are a range of challenges such as climate change, unplanned urbanization, underdevelopment, poverty, as well as the threat of pandemics that will shape humanitarian assistance in the future. These aggravating factors will result in increased frequency, complexity, and diversity of disasters. To sum up, disaster occurs in variable forms such as floods, droughts, landslides, earthquakes, conflicts, famine, industrial and transport accident, and some other such occurrences. Disasters are usually divided into natural disasters and man-made disasters. While floods, droughts, landslides, earthquakes are examples of natural disasters, whereas conflicts, famine, industrial and transport accidents are referred to as man-made disasters. Natural and man-made disasters affect thousands of people each year. Major adverse events such as these have the potential to cause catastrophic loss of life and physical destruction. They are often unexpected and can have whole communities in shock. People who live through a disaster can experience emotional distress, feeling of anxiety, constant worrying, trouble sleeping, and other depression-like symptoms are common response to disasters before, during, and after the event. Many people are able to bounce back from disaster with the help from family and the community. But others may need additional support to cope and move forward on the path of recovery. Anyone can be at the risk, including survivors living in the impacted areas and first responders and recovery workers. Model questions. Question number 1, what is a natural disaster? Question number 2, what are the causes of natural disaster? Question number 3, what is a man-made disaster? Question number 4, what are the causes of man-made disaster? 5, all disasters can be seen as being man-made disasters. Comment. References: Phillips, B.D. 2005, Disaster as a Discipline, the Status of Emergency Management Education in the U.S. International Journal of Mass Emergencies and Disaster, Volume 23, 1. Perkins, Jamie. The Calamity of Disaster, Recognizing the Possibilities, Planning, for the event managing crisis and coping with the effects. Public Safety Degrees, a global report. Reducing Disaster Risk and Challenges for Development by UNDP, 2004. Climate Change and Disaster in India, Mall, R.K. and R. Kumar and R. Bhatia, 2010. Journal of South Asia Disaster Studies, SARC. Disaster Management Center, New Delhi. Crisis Management from Despair to Hope. Third report, Second Administrative Reforms Commission, September 2006, New Delhi. Disaster Reduction in United Nations, 2011. Roles, mandates, areas of work of key United Nations entities.